Welcome back to preview the Premier League game on the final day of the season between Aston Villa and Burnley. Pascal, start with Villa. Safe now, but they did get hammered at Southampton last time. Right?
Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a weird game. So they went into that, they weren't safe going into the game, but they knew, I think they were 4 points clear of the drop, and they sort of knew that, even if we lose, they were probably going to be safe. And in the end, they were. But it's still, Sherwood will still be angry with the way they played that, especially, they've got the cup final coming up later this month, so it's not the way they sort of want to finish the season, but. Yeah, the game itself, it was a terrible first half, and then wasn't it? The headline was, of course, the Mane hat-trick, fastest hat-trick in Premier League history. Under 3 minutes, just unbelievable what he did. But, some of those goals were very avoidable from a Villa point of view, some bad mistakes there, and, certainly, not the way that he would have wanted his side to play, because even though, they would have gone into the game thinking, we're not safe, but, I'm sure even though Sherwood would have said, look, you need to win today, you're not safe, in the players' heads, they probably would have been thinking, look, we've done the hard work now, we are, 4 points clear, 2 games to go, and it's a disappointing way to sort of have your last away game. They'll certainly want to, go out much better here in their final home game.
I mentioned they did obviously get hammered, but the goal did come from Benteke, and he's had a decent second half of the season, and he's got 12 in his last 11 since March as well, which is even more impressive when you think about the fact that he didn't score for so long. He was injured at the start of the season. When he came back, got suspended. I think he was against Spurs or something. He got sent off, and then it's interesting to see what happens with him, because obviously he's a very good player. He's obviously their standout player. Delph's had a decent season. But you're thinking of Benteke, it'd be interesting to see whether he does want to move this summer, because obviously with the Euros next summer with Belgium, he gets in the head of Lukaku, doesn't he, now, first choice. So if he gets a move away this summer and maybe doesn't get any football, then that might affect his chances. I think Tim Sherwood brought that up, but we'll be thinking, like I said, he's only 24 years of age, he's got 13 goals this season, so you're thinking of big centre forwards, big and strong, isn't he? Would he fit in? He'd be linked with Liverpool, isn't he? He'd probably fit in well with Liverpool, wouldn't he? And Arsenal, you're thinking as well. Not sure whether they'd go for him, Spurs as well. You'd fancy a lot of the top teams would take him, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. It depends what kind of money's offered. If a lot of money's offered, Villa probably might take it, because Benteke thinking he could play in the Champions League. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. He'll be keen to continue into the season, get a couple of goals maybe against Burnley.
Definitely, like I say, if he does go, I think that Villa would definitely have to replace him. They've signed Scott Sinclair on a permanent deal now, but he's not really your out-and-out striker. He's not going to be able to do too much. But I think in this game, I think Benteke will definitely play, and if it's his last home game, he definitely want to score. But I think he'll want to play. I think Sherwood might be wary of him leaving, and certainly he'll want to play him. If it is his final home game. But I think he'll certainly rest a load of other key players, because next weekend they've got the FA Cup final. Now they know they're safe. There's no point risking any of your other key players. I can't see him not starting Benteke, but the others, you mentioned Delph, some of the defenders as well. He'll certainly rest players, because that FA Cup final is massive for them now. They haven't won a trophy in 19 years since they won the '96 League Cup. So that game is huge for them. They've managed to stay up after some bad times under Paul Lambert. Earlier on in the season, they managed to stay up. They got themselves to the FA Cup final. Fantastic win over Liverpool in the semi-final. So well done to them. And that FA Cup final is now huge for them. They'll certainly be looking ahead to that. But they shouldn't take Burnley too lightly. You fancy them to beat Burnley, who've already gone down. But I think their eyes will definitely be on the FA Cup final now.
You mentioned you fancy them to beat Burnley, obviously moving on to Burnley, but they've had a decent last couple of results, haven't they? Obviously beat one at Hull, didn't they? But obviously went down that weekend anyway. But you're thinking when the pressure's off, it's easier to play, open sort of play better, isn't it? Take the reins off, as it were. And last time out against Stoke, I think they were a touch fortunate. Obviously the game finished 0-0, but Stoke had a lot of chances. I think Juve had a couple of really good chances. Remember a header that came in, and he probably should have scored. And down the other end, Burnley, it's been the story of their season. They just don't really create enough, do they? In fairness, recently Sean Dyche talked about the missing chances, and that's been the case recently. But in a lot of games, they just don't really create too much, do they? And obviously, if you don't find the back of the net, like I say, defensively, not been too bad in terms of you think of QPR, the worst defensive record in the league. It's not been anywhere near that, and they've got some decent players at the back, but just don't really score enough goals. And 6 wins all season, you're never going to stay in the league if you win 6. Remember earlier in the season, I mentioned defensively, they did keep some clean sheets here and there, didn't they? But didn't score enough goals. Ings went off the boil in terms of goals. Ashley Barnes did hit a couple of worldies, didn't he? Scott Arfield had a decent scoring run. Dave Jones had a couple, but apart from that, it's not really been good enough. But they'd be keen not to finish bottom. Obviously, QPR below them at the moment, Burnley sitting 19th. So if they can end the season, there's no pressure because they're already down. So if they can go there and win it, give the fans something to cheer.
Definitely. I think when if you compare them and Leicester, at one point it looked like they'd both be going down, and they were the two sides that came up automatically last year. And I think, when you look at Leicester, Burnley, like you said, it's just 6 wins all season. They never looked like having the quality to really, win enough games to stay up. Whereas Leicester, even though they had that really bad patch, they still, you look at the players they signed that they brought in, the likes of Cambiasso, Ojoa. They did bring in players that you thought might be able to, if they did hit form, might be able to just win them some Premier League games, and that's proved to be the case in the end. But I think the Ings situation is quite interesting, isn't it? He's definitely going there. Some of his contract runs out. But Burnley, they are going to get due some compensation, because he's under 23 years old. I mean, I think they're talking about wanting sort of 5-10 million. I mean, Liverpool were the favourites to sign him. I think that'd be quite a good place for him to go. I certainly don't think. I think it'd be a good environment for him going to a big club like that. I don't think he's a Premier League sort of regular at a big club yet, but still young. He's very talented on the ball, good feet, good skills. But I think it'd be interesting to see how much Burnley hold out, because he's out of contract. He's not going to be your player anymore. And I think they can't really make too many demands, because if they take it to a tribunal, then it obviously gets decided by the court. But I think if they can get anything above 5 for a player that's leaving and going out of contract, I think that is pretty good. So yeah, and the online abuse thing, that was weird, wasn't it? Obviously said you sort of on Twitter and stuff, or thanks for all the memories and all that, whatever. But there's no reason to abuse him. Like, you've been relegated. He's a great young player. Possible. In future England player, and it's completely understandable he wants to leave. And any fans that were really giving him abuse should just appreciate what he did for them, especially last season. Getting them promoted to the Premier League. So I thought that was really harsh on him. But yeah, certainly be in the Premier League next season, but we don't know who with yet.
Yeah, if he gets to Liverpool, it'll be a decent move. Like you said, he's decent on the balls and he's got some pace. He's got some strength about him, so he should have ability to have a good season. Obviously, it's a dead rubber in terms of nothing much to play for, but both teams will be keen to finish on the winners, as they always are. What's your score prediction for this one?
Yeah, I mean, Burnley, they've struggled to score goals for the sort of last 2-3 months, haven't they? And I can't really see them scoring it. I think Villa, they won't be at their best either, but I think they'll just edge it 1-0.
I should completely agree. Like I say, Villa recently not too many goals the last time out, but I think they'll just edge it 1-0. Benteke getting a score sheet as well. So you can both see 1-0 wins for Villa in this one. Thanks for joining us.